Okay, welcome back to Consumer Trial Lawyer Academy. We're continuing our discussion with Elizabeth Larrick about her work in focus groups, mock trials, and in general helping you be a better lawyer, present a better case, get clarity about the issues that come up. And in this second session, we're talking about using virtual focus groups all along the case prep, and during case development. We had a good lengthy conversation in the first session, and a lot of the things you may hear us say, we talked a good bit about that in the prior video. We're going to presume if you're watching this when you saw the first one, because we're so entertaining. But Elizabeth, thank you again for being with us and being with me on this, and providing your insight. It's so valuable, and your time so valuable. And so I'm very grateful for your help. And talk to us a little bit about using virtual focus groups, and talking about using focus groups across the early phases of the case and during development.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Nick. Always enjoy talking about focus groups, but I really have found so much, like, the ability to use virtual focus groups, I think the opportunity to really shape people's practices, plaintiffs' practices, personal injury, consumer, employment, because of the ability that it's so flexible. And you can reach so many more people, and the time setup is it's so much easier. Plus, at this point, here we are, 2024, we've all had to use Zoom. Like, there's probably a lot of lawyers that are still using Zoom for depositions. You're using Zoom for hearings. So this is not like a new technology. We have to learn anything new. And the great thing is everybody else is up to speed too. I mean, I think before the pandemic, people were, of course, there's always been online focus groups out there, online surveys. But for me, there was always like, well, what about the group of people that just don't have that technology at home or have no idea how to use it? Well, don't even worry about that, because everybody now, most of the participants that we have and use really appreciate not having to get in the car and drive down to the hotel or the conference room and spend extra time, because the way that we do our virtual is we're doing shorter. We're looking at 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour bites at information. And that allows you to move a lot with speed. So, I mean, if you've got a pretty big city, right? So sometimes people call me like, oh, I've got this little tiny town. I'm like, okay, we can do tiny town places, but it just takes a little longer to find those people, get them in there. But we have a large town, here, Nick and I live in Austin, gathering up a set of participants doesn't take as much time. So you can get it set and done in a week. I mean, it's amazing how fast you can move with speed versus doing in person. That's going to take more time. You're going to spend more time like getting yourself ready. And just being able to basically, turn on that Zoom in your office, get that feedback that you need on that one issue, maybe two issues, and then move on, right? I think one of the things that you said so eloquently in our last video was sometimes we do get stuck at the fork in the road in our case.
Yeah,
And
yeah, no
we
doubt.
just, we need that information to figure out, like, which way do I go? What's the strongest route? Because thinking through, like, you know, if you're in discovery before taking depositions, if you know which way you want to go, you can really focus your prep on that and then focus the depo on that, versus having this really long 6 hour depo where you're just trying to cover every possible thing.
Yeah, yeah. Just great points, and really, I agree with you 100%. I mean, I find us even today still using Zoom, even when the law offices are 10 miles apart in Austin, because, that can be 45 minutes at times in the right place, right? So, you don't want to spend the whole day in your car. I mean, and so virtual is still very prevalent. I think it is a big issue for lawyers now. It has become really a huge part of our lives, and something that we pretty much have to do. I had a defendant the other day say, "Well, we demand that we do our corporate rep in person," and I'm like, "Wow, that's a new one." Normally they're like, "We want to do this remote."
That's right.
So I was okay. Well, all right. We'll go wherever your folks are at. That's interesting. But yeah, I think what you're talking about with focus groups in this instance is the same. I think it's hugely valuable and a great tool um, to be able to get quick answers when you have things that are very important to a case, especially a large case. um, the example we talked about in the first video, case that we recently engaged in where we're trying to sort of sort out where should the focus be to try to point liability at one party versus another. These are great opportunities to use virtual, right? I mean, that type of thing is something that, you can spend an hour or two with a group of people and get a lot of good information from, the comfort of your 25-year-old office chair.
Yeah.
So it's a great concept.
It's just a good tool to have in your tool belt. I mean,
Yes.
we don't have a
Yes.
lot of case prep tools that involve outside perspectives. We've got hundreds of books, we've got lots of CLEs, we've got checklists, out the wazoo. But that third party perspective is really kind of the golden standard to help kind of frame things up.
No doubt. I mean, you can know every trick of the trade. You can read every book. You can go to every seminar. You can be certified by every so-called master. But if you got a problem with your case, you got a problem with your case. And that's the part that we all have to realize is that, I'm not diminishing anyone's trial skills. You still have to be a good lawyer to go in courtroom and win a verdict. But it doesn't matter if you're the best of the best. If you've got a big stinker right in the middle of your case and you haven't perceived it, it's going to sink your battleship. So having that third party perspective, looking for those things that can put you at the bottom of the ocean, it just makes a lot of sense. And the faster you can identify those, the easier they are to avoid. So
I mean, the best trial lawyers do focus groups. I mean, I've got a trial lawyer who I work with who he's, he's been doing this for almost 50 years. He's got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of trial experience. He is good. He uses a focus group every time, because like, there's still going to be stuff that I miss. I still want to make sure, it's like, of course. So, sometimes our ego can get in the way. We're like, well, I've already done this. Oh, I know what they're going to say. Oh, it's like, okay, just test it out. Then then you got nothing to
yeah,
lose. But so,
yeah. It's just like buying it's like buying a stop loss on an option. You're just, I mean, all you're doing is confirming what you claim you already know in that situation. No, I'm beyond the days of thinking that I know it all. That's the one thing I've been bit on the butt enough. What I know is that I don't know, and I tell people the older I get, the dumber I get because I start questioning everything. And like you say, youth has the option to be a little bit reckless, but when you start getting as much gray hair as I got, you got to be a little more measured in those efforts. So, but yeah, it's a wonderful tool, and Elizabeth is a wonderful practitioner in this space, and she's the best that I know, and certainly she can bring something to your efforts to get your cases ready